So a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend, I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, we saw the first big trade of the year happen to start trade season off hot, so we definitely have plenty to discuss with that and more. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from DeBrain, and he says that the 76ers are still a top 10 team in the league when fully healthy. This season has been nothing short of a disaster for Philadelphia compared to the expectations that they entered the year with, so naturally there's been a lot of negativity directed their way, and most fans of the game have pretty much abandoned the idea of them making a run this year. For the first month of the season, they saw all of their key players miss significant time due to injury, they lost Rookie of the Year leader Jared McCain for the season due to another injury, and they've been near the bottom of the standings throughout. But over the last few weeks, they have quietly been turning things around, and it's been flying under the radar. They've won 9 of their last 12 games, their defense has definitely tightened up across the board, their core players are actually healthy all at once for the most part, and Joel Embiid seems to gradually be rounding into form after dealing with knee issues for most of the last few months. Their matchup against the Celtics on Christmas Day was a pretty big litmus test for where they stand as a group, and they passed that test with flying colors, generally controlling that game from start to finish, winning it in the end, and with all of that being said, it just, as usual, comes down to Joel Embiid. When Embiid is on his A game, the Sixers have consistently been able to compete against anybody throughout pretty much his entire career, but the problem has always been his ridiculously unfortunate injury luck, which has prevented that best version of himself being there when it matters most. This season, the Sixers have one of the worst ranked offenses in the entire NBA because of how little Embiid has been available, as his presence alone opens up so much more for those around him, and the attention that he receives from defenses makes the life of someone like Tyrese Maxey in particular infinitely easier. With Embiid on the court this season, the Sixers have the equivalent of the 4th best defense in the league, but without him, they fall much more average to even below average. They're now just one game back of a playoff spot in the standings too, and with over 50 games left, I do 100% expect them to end up in the playoffs. As always, their ability to make a run will come down to which version of Joel Embiid they get. My biggest worry is that the wear and tear on Embiid's knees will prevent him from ever reaching that prior MVP level form, so saying that they can compete to win a title still is probably a bit outlandish, but the original take said top 10, and for that, I do think they can still hit that kind of a level for sure, now that they are starting to click. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Mike, and he says that Dorian Finney-Smith does not move the needle enough for the Lakers to be anything more than a first-round exit in the playoffs, and they still need more realistically to contend. So the big news of the day has been that the Lakers and Nets officially got trade season underway, with the first big deal going down. In it, the Lakers acquired Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 second-round picks. The Lakers fanbase has been loudly annoyed with D'Angelo Russell for a while now, and have been begging for the team to use him as a trade chip to try to hunt for something bigger, and here the Lakers used him to bring in a much less flashy talent, but one who definitely comes with a useful skill set for winning basketball clubs. I think overall this is the kind of trade where both sides may overreact a little bit to how good or bad the other player is, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle. D'Lo was definitely having a down season this year, and his confidence seemed shot with how streaky his production has been, and while Dorian Finney-Smith is absolutely a terrific role player, like the original take states, expecting him to plug all of the team's holes is also unrealistic. Finney Smith's calling card is on defense, where he's an exceptionally versatile forward who makes his presence felt in a variety of ways, and offensively, he's fairly one-dimensional as a spot-up shooter. He's shooting a career-best 44% from 3 this year as well, which is scorching hot, but in his career, he has never finished a season shooting above 40% from 3, having made 39% of his threes twice in seasons in the past, so while his current production may be unsustainable, he can still settle into a pretty efficient floor. With how much more things get emphasized playing in the bright LA lights though, DFS is going to have some bad shooting games here and there that may frustrate Laker fans, but it's important to remember what he's there for. He's there to space the floor and defend the opposing team's best players. Any other expectations of him are unrealistic, and yes, going back to the original take, this trade should not mark the end of the Lakers' activities in trade talks if they are serious about making a deep run. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from 507 Productions, and they say that Cade Cunningham is already a top 15 player in the NBA, but no one acknowledges it because he plays for the Pistons. This season is shifting the tiers of player talent quite a bit, with some huge breakouts going down, and Cade Cunningham's is absolutely one that I don't think people truly appreciate enough. Since being drafted number 1 overall in the 2021 NBA draft, he's seemingly become a bit of an afterthought, getting less attention than most other number 1 picks do. He's suffered a few injuries along the way that set him back at times, but in general, he has legitimately gotten better and better every single season, but because he plays in a smaller market that doesn't get as many nationally televised games, and the fact that they've been near the bottom of the standings year in and year out, he just isn't the topic of many conversations. But this season, it's genuinely time to change that. On the year, Cunningham is averaging 24 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds per game, emerging in the tier of player who threatens to drop a triple-double on any given night with the likes of Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. And he's actually leading this Pistons group to significant improvement, with them currently being in the play-in tournament range of the standings. He controls the tempo of games so masterfully, he's getting to the rim with ease, his court vision and knack for making plays for those around him is really starting to stack up with the league's best, and while he does need to work on cutting down on the amount of turnovers he commits per game, it's something that comes with the territory as a high-usage playmaker, with Trae Young and James Harden also being 2 of the best passers in the game right now that also commit a similar amount of turnovers as him, so it is just something that naturally happens with people looking to make plays like that. Whether it be top 15 or top 20, or whatever arbitrary number you want to rank him in, I definitely think it's safe to say that he is becoming one of the best guards in the Eastern Conference and should easily be named an All-Star this season. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.